Esta tarde tenemos el tópico planificación para la vida después de la escuela secundaria. Y nuestra presentadora va a ser Solanchi Fernández de la oficina de College Planning Center, el centro de planificación de la universidad. Before we move forward, I want to make sure that we share some Zoom features with you today. Antes de empezar, lo que queríamos asegurar es que podamos, aunque sea dejarles saber un poco sobre el taller de esta noche y cuáles son los iconos que van a utilizar para poder participar esta tarde. Entonces, so right now I'm going to go through these features, and we do have an interpreter with us this evening. Her name is Delia Rodriguez Masjuan. So yo voy ahora a hablar sobre estas características de Zoom, y entonces Delia Rodríguez Masjuan nos va a ayudar con la interpretación. Entonces ahora mismo le voy a explicar cómo acceder, cómo escuchar nuestra intérprete, que es Delia. To access interpretation, those who need Spanish translation will click on the interpretation globe, the icon at the very bottom of your screen. Para los padres que necesitan traducción, y van a recibir toda la información en español por medio de la señora Delia Rodríguez Masjuan. Nada más tienen que darle clic al globo donde dice Interpretation. Cuando le dan clic a este globo, le va a dar la opción de poder seleccionar el idioma español. Entonces, por favor, si pueden hacer eso desde ahora, porque Delia va a empezar a traducir toda la información que yo voy a decir, y aparte de mí, también ella va a traducir la información de Solanchi Fernández. Por favor, si pueden ahora acceder a esto. If you are joining the meeting from a phone or a tablet, you may have to select more to access the language interpretation function. Si está usando el celular o la tableta para poder acceder a la interpretación, debería seleccionar more, los 3 puntitos. Ya nos dimos cuenta que hay personas que utilizan 2 maneras. Pueden entrar con la computadora o tendrían que usar su teléfono. So tienen que entonces seleccionar more aquí, y después de esto le va a dar también la opción del idioma español. Write your questions. So one of the ways that we will interact this evening is by using, again, the icons at the very bottom of your screen. So we are asking families to please write your question in the Q&A at the very bottom of your screen. You can click on Q&A and write your question there. The panelists will respond live, or a response will be provided in your Q&A box. Escriba, so Delia va a traducir, perdón. If you would like to ask your question out loud, please select the raise hand button. Si desea hacer su pregunta en voz alta, selecciona el botón de la manita. So if you select raise hand, we will call on you, and then we will unmute you. Okay, and so just make sure you understand that you have 2 different options of participating this evening in an interactive way. So again, you can write your question in the Q&A box. Just click on Q&A, write your question, and either we will be responding to your question right back to you, and everyone will see it, or it will be private. Or you can raise your hand and ask your question out loud, and we will call on you and unmute you so that you can ask your question. The feature will not be available, the chat feature will not be available, and we ask that you please use the Q&A or raise the hand feature. Those would be the only 2 ways that you can share your feedback, your question, comments. Those are the 2 different ways. And we will be monitoring those of you who will be raising your hand and also writing in your questions. We will try our best to answer as many questions in the allotted time. So we want to make sure that we allow Solanchi Fernandez enough ample time to be able to present, and then there will be times that we will pause to also, again, take questions. If you're using the raise hand, just know that you are able to ask your question in English or in Spanish. And we will make sure to translate if it's in Spanish. I believe Solange, because she is bilingual, Delia, just so that you know, there'll be times that Solange might go ahead and possibly answer in Spanish, just so you know, okay? Alrighty, and then, you know, the presentation, just to give you an idea, again, the presentation will be a webinar format. You will not be able to see each other, only the panelists, the interpreter, and ourselves as facilitators. The presenter will try to answer as many questions as possible. Again, please use the Q&A icon or raise the hand reaction feature if you prefer to ask your question live. We will call your name as stated on your video and unmute you. Please state your name and then followed by your question. We are working with an interpreter as a reminder for the session. Thank you in advance for your patience and possible slight delays in some of the content delivery. We want to make sure that all attendees are receiving the information. Microphones of all attendees will be muted unless the attendees raise their hand to ask their question live. At the end of the presentation of the session, we will share a feedback form. So we want to hear from you in terms of your opinion, any suggestions. We want to get better at the delivery of our workshops. So we need to hear from you and we want your feedback. So please make sure to stay till the end of the presentation so you can give us you know, some information. But we will also, we will also have some giveaways. So we want you to make sure that you stay. And I'm going to mention the giveaways in a few minutes. And then we mentioned the website here, which I'm sure that all of you who are joining us today, you received a text that also included the flyer that includes other future workshops. So we just want to alert you to the website as well. And again, this is just a list of things that we are, that are our giveaways for the end of the presentation. So we have family 4-pack free admissions to the zoo. We have a $10 Walmart gift card. We have 3 $25 Sneaker Junkies gift cards. And so we want to make sure that you stay, stay tuned, stay till the end to make sure that you leave here with wonderful possibilities of winning one of these giveaways. Okay. Okay, and then again, just mentioning that these are the future workshops that we have for the rest of the month. And so Solange is here with us today, but she will be back presenting on the 31st, information about paying and saving for college. Okay, so just be on the lookout for that. Also, mark your calendars. Thank you. Okay, Solange, so I'm going to let you share your screen so you can get started. And again, just reminding our families, those of you who are on, we have about 53 people on our call this evening. So we're really excited that you're on. And oftentimes we have more folks joining us. And so please make sure, again, that you use the icon at the very bottom to ask any questions. So use the Q&A, but also you are welcome to raise your hand. Okay, thank you. Solange, go right ahead.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you everyone for joining us this evening. As Janet mentioned, this workshop is about life after, post-secondary education. So basically life after high school. I'm gonna focus a lot on admissions, but before I start getting into the whole admissions, just wanna let you know that possible other options that your child could look into after college is sometimes students go straight into work. To save money to then go into college later on. Then you also slow down, okay? All right. Another option that students may have after high school is they might want to join the military. Sometimes this is a good option for students who are not ready to go straight into college because it also gives them an opportunity to get some benefits from the military to help you pay for college. And lastly, of course, you can go just straight into a college or university and I will be discussing all the admissions requirements with you this evening. So that's what I'm going to focus most on, because about 80% of students after high school, they decide to go to college instead of work or the military. So quickly to go over the agenda, I will review college admission requirements. A lot of people say, ask the question, where do I begin? So I will discuss that as well. Where can you begin when it comes to looking into applying to a college or university? And then, of course, we'll also discuss those application expectations, meaning, so what are those admissions counselors looking at when they look at your college application? Okay, so let's begin. So the first thing you want to know is you have to research colleges, and there's different ways that you can do it. The big one is the internet. A lot of people just go straight into the internet. You could either go straight into the college websites themselves if you already know what college you are interested in, or you can also use collegeboard.org. That is a website that allows you to do a filter based on different criteria of what you're looking for in a college or university. Then, of course, you always have your guidance office. They can help you in trying to help you determine and kind of narrow down your decision on where you want to apply. And then lastly, friends and family. So sometimes when I'm advising students and they're not really 100% sure about a specific major or career, what I try to do is say, if you have someone a friend or a family member that is in the career of your choice, to kind of do an interview with them and kind of ask them, so I'm interested in XYZ and you're in that field. So tell me, how did you go about researching what school to attend and why did you select the school that you did? And what is some advice that you can give me to help me research that career? Also, at the College Planning Center, you can book a general college planning appointment where we will go over with you step by step the different that you can do or you can take when you are looking for a college and university. So, where should I apply? Always a big thing that a lot of students ask. And these are some questions that, we ask, or at least I ask my students when they're sitting down and chatting with me about where they want to go. I ask them, so do you want to be in a big city or a small town? So what's the size of the school that appeals to you? Do you want to be 1 in 30,000, or do you want to be 1 in 2 or 3,000? So there's large, medium, and small colleges and universities. Do you want to be in a public or a private university? And then, believe it or not, even the weather can be a factor of where you apply. And I always make fun of my daughter because that was the biggest or most important thing for her. She wanted to go somewhere warm. So she applied to all schools down south. And of course, if you do already know a major, you want to make sure you research facilities of that specialty. So if you want to go be an engineer, you want to make sure they have a great engineering building and lab, biology, make sure they have good science labs. My daughter went into business. She wanted to make sure that the school included a stock room where you can go and do trades. So it's very important to look into those features. And of course, you want to look at the academic structures. You want to be in a school that mostly is lecture style, meaning that there's big classrooms. So you're 1 in like 300 kids or even 500. Or do you want it so that the ratio is very small, so there's only like 20 to 30 students in the classroom? And it's strictly lecture, or do you want hands-on or interactive or engaged learning? So these are some things that you need to think about. Of course, affordability is always a big factor. So when you create your college list, you want to make sure that you have all types of schools. So you want to have a reach school, and reach can be in the sense of financial and academic. And then you want to have some that are in between. And then you want to have at least one what we call safety school. And that is a school that you definitely can get into and then you can afford. And of course, if you're an athlete, you want to make sure you look into the athletic programs, whether they're Division 1, 2, or 3. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit.
Solange, we have a question regarding this slide.
Yeah.
Ask the question, what do you mean by academic structure?
Okay. So I did kind of elaborate it a little bit more. Academic structure basically is, do you want a school that basically just is lecture style, where the teacher just is at the front of the classroom and just lecturing and you're taking notes, not too much interaction? Or do you want a school that offers classes that you're in small classrooms, there's engaged learning where you're engaged with the professor, and you sometimes do group activities, so you might have some teamwork that you have to do in the classroom or presentations. Or some students may not like the typical university style. They want more like a technical program where it's more hands-on. So that's what I mean by academic structure. So those are some things you got to look into when you're looking at those schools that you're interested in applying to. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So very important. You want to make sure you do a school visit. However, the pandemic going on, there's a lot of schools that are only offering virtual tour. However, if they are offering an in-person, which a lot of schools little by little are opening up and offering in-person tours, but you have to sign up quickly because they limit the number of people that can do in-person tours. So it's very important if you're interested in a school, that you try to visit either in person if they offer it, or do a virtual tour. And during those virtual tours, they're very informative. And you do have an opportunity to ask questions during virtual tours, or if you don't, you could chart down your questions and then reach out to the admissions office after the virtual tour and get some of those answers to your question. And if possible, there are some schools that may offer you an opportunity to spend a night in the dorm. That usually only happens once you have been accepted to the university. So that gives you, the student, an opportunity to be able to experience what it's like to be on that campus, not only during the day, but also in the evening, so you can learn about student life. Of course, you'll get a chance to attend classes if you do that, and that way you can see what it feels like to be in a college classroom. And during your time there, I highly recommend you visit the student union. That's typically the building that may house all the different school clubs. So that way you can find out what kind of clubs are available. And even if like there isn't a club, but you're interested in something, you could even look into student government and ask how you can create a group. Again, I always use my daughter as an example. She went down to a school down in the South, in North Carolina, and there was a good number of Latin American students, or Latinos. There was no Latino organization. So guess what my daughter did? Her and a couple of her friends created the the LASO, Latin American Student Organization. So if that's something you're interested in, I worked at Bryant University for several years, and I had a student that was an avid bowler. He loved to bowl. They didn't have a bowling club, so he created one. So it's a good way to show some student leadership, and you can create an organization. Of course, highly recommend you visit the school's career services office. That's the office that will help you while you're there. If you want to get an internship, they will help you get internships. They will also help you with writing your resume, your cover letter, doing some practice interviews so that when you finally are going on an interview your junior or senior year, you'll have a heads up on that, and you'll have practice already to do that. And of course, if you are on tour or you're staying in overnight, talk to as many people as possible. Even speak to the people, I call them the grounds people, or facilities. That's what they call facility workers. They're the ones that know the most information about what goes on the campus, because they're there 24/7. So make sure you ask questions. And believe it or not, a lot of schools still offer a student newspaper. And in that student newspaper, whether it's an actual physical paper or a virtual one that they email you or you can receive, I would definitely look into it so you can see what's going on the campus, what kind of activities are going on. And also at the end of the last page, they also do what is called an incident report. So if there are some crimes on campus, what kind of crimes are there? Because you want to make sure you're going to a safe school. And then of course, always check out the school's social media, because that's really where you get a lot of information, and you get it straight from the students that are attending the college or university. Okay. So let's talk about those requirements. These are the requirements that you must have in order to apply to a college. So you must include your high school transcript. You must, submit standardized testing if the schools are accepting those, and many of them are now. Because of the whole pandemic, for students who are applying for 2021, many of the schools were making it optional. So it was SAT optional. A lot of schools are staying that way, but many have returned back to requiring those standardized tests. Of course, some schools may also require SAT too, or if you don't, some schools require either the SATs or the ACT. And the difference between the two is that the ACT has a science component that the SAT does not. And of course, you all have to write those college essays to let them know a little bit more about you. And I'll talk about more in a little while about that essay. And you have to make sure, start thinking now. I know that we might have a few students here that might be 9th, 10th, 11th graders. Start thinking now, who's going to write those recommendations for your senior year? And typically, we advise that it's someone in your junior or your senior year that writes those recommendations. So start thinking about that. And then, of course, it's optional. You can include a resume. And if the school does not offer an in-person interview or a telephone interview, or nowadays there's so many Zoom interviews, if they offer it, I highly recommend that you do it, especially if you're a very dynamic presenter. Sometimes you may look one way on paper, but when they get to know you, when they get to speak to you, they get to know you a lot better than in writing. And sometimes that's what makes or breaks the acceptance at the college or university. Now, this is another question that a lot of students and parents ask. So how many schools should I apply to? This is my personal preference. I don't recommend more than 8. And the reason why is because it can get costly to apply to a college university. Even though I'll talk about it in a little bit, the majority of students apply to college or a university through the Common Application. Now, in the Common App, you can put as many schools as you want. But at the end, when you go to submit, they are going to charge you an application fee for each of those schools. And those fees can range from $50 to $200, depending on where you're applying. Unless you are getting fee waivers, which if your child gets free or reduced lunch at school, they will get 4 free application fee waivers. If your students are involved in College Crusades, they will get another 4. So if you're a College Crusader and you get reduced or free lunch, they're your 8 applications and they're free. But if in case you don't meet one or the other, you can always reach out to the admissions office and ask them if they offer an application waiver. And as I mentioned earlier, when you're applying, make sure that one of those schools is relatively certain that you will be accepted and that you can afford, because you should always have a safety school. Yes.
So a question would be, if a student does receive free and reduced lunch, how would they verify that? What would they?
So the fee waivers will come from their counselor, their guidance counselors. So
Okay.
guidance counselors do have a list of the students who get free or reduced lunch. And this is another thing. I know a lot of parents say, oh, my kids don't want to get lunch at school, even though they qualify. I highly recommend you apply, get qualified, and if they don't want to eat the lunch there, then that's fine. But at least you qualify, so that way it will give you that free waiver, at least 4 free waivers. Okay? Now, there are some admissions terms that a lot of people get confused with, but I want to make sure you fully are aware what they are, especially the first 2 listed: early action and early decision. And the words kind of say it all right away. So early decision basically say that you are making a decision that that is the one school you want to apply to, and that if you get accepted, you will not apply to no other schools. However, and it's also considered a binding contract, meaning that it's an agreement between you and the university that you will not apply to any other school except that one. We don't recommend that unless you are 100% sure you can get in, 100% sure you can afford it, or 100% sure that they're actively recruiting you and are already throwing money at you and you're going to be able to afford to go to that school. Now, early action is exactly what it says. You're taking action early, but you're not binded to go to that school. And you could apply to as many schools as you want early action. It doesn't guarantee that you'll be accepted, but it will give you some peace of mind. A lot of students just like to do it early, get it over with, so then they can find out early, and then it could help them make the decision early as well. Some schools may want you to let them know if you're attending a little earlier sometimes, but you're not required to commit like you do with early decision. Now, regular admission is pretty much you apply, it's regular, you don't find out any sooner. Typically, regular decisions are made in March, so you would find out by March. With early action, you typically find out by December. And a lot of the applications are due November 1st, November 15, or December 1st. Those are the early action. Now, one advice to everyone who is thinking of applying to URI or Rhode Island College. Even if you're not applying early action, you should submit your application by December 1st. And the reason for that is because that is the deadline for students who will receive merit money. And merit is based on your academics. I will get more into the whole merit versus need when I do my financial aid workshop. But if you have any specific questions now, I'll be more than happy to answer them. And then rolling admissions are those schools that are accepting applications year-round. For example, CCRI, the Community College of Rhode Island. They're always receiving applications. There's no set deadline. As for New England Tech, schools that have like trimesters, New England Tech, Johnson and Wales, Lincoln Tech. So schools that have trimesters, that they have different times during the year that the student can start, those have rolling admissions. Okay?
Solange?
Yes.
We have a question?
Yeah. Yep.
It's in Spanish, so I'll read it in Spanish and then I'll translate. La señora dice que hay que asegurarse que uno pueda pagar esa universidad, pero ¿y si se les otorga al estudiante varios scholarships o becas? ¿Eso no ayudaría?
Sí, claro que sí. Si le dan becas,
Let me
go ahead, translate the question.
Yes, yes. The Mrs. Mentions that you know, when you're applying for college, you have to almost be certain that you'll be able to pay. But if the student receives various scholarships, doesn't that help?
So the answer is yes. One of the schools should be one that you know you definitely can afford, but all colleges and university will allow you to receive scholarships. Again, I will go into more detail into scholarships because there's various different scholarships that you can receive. I've already kind of mentioned one with regards to merit. So I will go more into detail. But tonight I'm basically focusing on admissions. But yes, there are a lot of scholarships out there, and any scholarship you can apply to and receive will help you with the cost of attending a college or university. Okay. So when you're ready to apply, 3 things to remember: deadlines, deadlines, deadlines. And I cannot specify how important those deadlines are. As I just mentioned, one for URI and Rick, you have to make sure you apply by December 1st if you want some of that merit money. And merit money is free money, and you want free money. The other deadlines are the actual admissions deadline. It's very important because you don't want to miss out on the admissions deadline. Because if you don't submit your application on time, your application will be set to the side and they will decide on everyone who applied on time. And then if they have room, they will then look at the students that applied after the deadline and review and maybe put you on a wait list. Or if they still have space available, they will accept you. So you don't want to risk not being accepted. So make sure that when you are creating your college list, you want to create, I'm a very visual person. So I tell students, get a bright board, like, those presentation ones, neon green or orange, write the names of all your schools, the deadlines for admissions, and the deadlines for financial aid. Put it on the door of your room. So when your door is closed, you see it. When you're laying on your bed or when you're ready to leave your room, you see it. So it's always constantly reminding you of those deadlines. Okay. And then, as I mentioned, the way you apply, the majority of students use the Common Application, but not every school is on the Common App. That's what it's referred to, Common App. So sometimes you have to go directly online to the school or university that you're interested in applying to. So quickly, I want to just show you, this is what the Common App looks like. So the student will click here, first year student. And pretty much the first few screens are just general demographics. Students can start working on the Common App as early as their junior year. You could start doing it in right now, April or May. We usually do a lot of Common App workshops with the schools directly. So we would arrange it with the guidance office or with their English teacher, where we would do a Zoom meeting with the classroom and we would go through the Common App with them. But to be honest with you, the Common App should be filled out by the student. We will go over it by telling you, what each section means and how to fill it out, but you have to fill it out yourself. So you have to make sure. And as you can see down here, over 900 colleges and universities use it. But as you all know, there's more than 900 colleges and universities in the United States. So that's the most common way of applying to college.
Okay. Solange?
Yes. Yep.
So we have 3 folks that have raised their hands. So just wait 2 minutes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. 1 minute.
Okay, so we're gonna take our first question from Glenda.
Glenda.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon.
Sí, mi pregunta es que yo tengo mi hijo que está en el 12 ahorita y yo ya llené la aplicación que le llaman FASA
Ujú.
y yo estoy en ese proceso ahorita y no sé cuánto o cómo es que lo que le van a dar o ayudar.
So, como le dije, esto es sobre la misión. Yes.
Solange, just to translate the question, do you want me to
Oh,
translate?
yes. So she's basically said that she has a student that's in 12th grade and they've already filled out their FAFSA and but she's not sure what he's going to be receiving in financial aid. So what I'm going to tell her right now is that since this is an admissions workshop, at the end, it will have my contact information and she can contact me and I'll be more than happy to book an appointment and go over her child's financial aid with her. Okay. So, Doña, como esto es es sobre la misión, un taller sobre la misión, pero yo al final de esta presentación va a tener la información cómo usted puede llamar y hacer una cita conmigo y yo con mucho gusto le ayudo a usted a entender el proceso de la ayuda financiera para dejarle saber, basado en el FAFSA, qué le van a dar a él de ayuda. ¿Está bien?
Sí, está bien, gracias. Yo sí necesito hablar más de esto porque estoy nerviosa. Si él está a tiempo todavía para hacer todo eso.
So she says, thank you very much. And she's very nervous, but she wants to make sure that he's on time to receive financial aid. And if he's already submitted his FAFSA, most of the FAFSA deadlines were by March 1st. So I'm sure she met the deadline. So I'll let her know that. And then she can book an appointment with me. So, Doña, si ya él llenó el FAFSA, él lo llenó antes de marzo 1º, ¿verdad? Si él lo llenó antes de marzo 1º, él va a recibir la máxima ayuda de financial aid posible, pero yo no le puedo decir por segura hasta que yo haga una cita con usted. So I can't really fully tell her 100% what kind of financial aid her son received until I have an appointment with her and I explain the financial aid package to her.
Okay, thank you, Solange. We're going to unmute someone else.
Okay, we're gonna go with Julia.
Hola, Julia. Oh, hello, Julia.
Julia, si puede activar su micrófono. Gracias.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. My son is in Adriel Minaya. He's in 9th grade. And I'm sorry, I came in late into the conversation. I had a stroke. So I'm a little sick. And I did not catch on with the time. So I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My question is, do you start college preparations at 9th grade, or do we wait till he's in 11th or 12th grade? How does it work?
Okay.
Here in Rhode Island.
Yeah, so it's never too early to start thinking about college, university, and yes, it starts in the 9th grade. And you know why? Because the GPA and the grades that he gets, they are very important and they start from the 9th grade. So my next slide is going to cover what are the things that they look at when making the decision. And one of those criteria is, one, their GPA. They'll also look at the strength of the curriculum. So if your child is in 9th grade and he's really serious about going to college or university, he should make sure that he's challenging himself by taking honors and AP courses. He should also try to get involved in leadership positions because some colleges and university look at the student as a well-rounded individual, and they want leaders on campus. So it's good to start getting actively involved in
Okay.
student organization or student government or something. And that also will help on the financial aid piece too, because some scholarships may require certain criteria, like if they're looking at scholarships for community service, they have to make sure they have so many community service hours, so they can start working on that now, starting in 9th grade. It's a little too late to start doing all that in the 12th grade, because by then you already have your GPA and you've done everything you can. Okay.
Thank you, Solange. We're going to unmute someone else.
Okay, we're gonna take a question from Marilyn.
Marilyn?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Marilyn. Yes.
Hi, guys. I
Hi.
started laughing when I saw the three there. So my question is, I have two questions. I think I wrote it down. So does the Common App, when you go in, do you fill out just one general application for all the colleges? They get that one general application?
Yeah. So if the college or universities that your child is applying to, you would go on the Common App. And when you get to the section where you start listing your colleges and university, you can put in as many colleges as you want. But as I mentioned earlier, because it is costly, you need to make sure you narrow down your list.
Okay. And
But
then,
if the college is not one of the 900 schools that use the Common App, they would have to go directly online to the university and do their application on the website.
okay. And then the second question is, I think you answered it. I had a question on community work. So let's say, like, my daughter's been doing community work with me, different activities.
Mhm.
Does that help? Does that help in the application process?
It does help in the application process, and it also helps in the financial aid process when she's looking at scholarships. And I'll be discussing that in my next workshop.
Okay. Okay, I actually booked an appointment with you today, so
Oh,
online.
perfect. So there you go.
Okay,
Then you have your one-on-one with me then.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, Marilyn.
Oh, hi. Thank you.
Solange, we're going to take one more question and then we'll let you finish, okay?
Yeah, because I'm almost done anyway. Next.
Nieves Tejada. Si puede activar su micrófono, if you can unmute yourself, please. Nieves.
Much talk in my throat.
Nieves, queremos que haga su pregunta, por favor, si puede activar su micrófono. Okay, we'll just take one more person. Catherine Rivas.
Sí, buenas noches.
Buenas noches. Good evening.
Sí, yo quiero tengo una duda. Mi hijo aplicó para 6 universidades y gracias a Dios de las 6 lo aceptaron. Él aplicó para Rhode Island College, aplicó para Arizona University, Colorado, bueno, la de aquí, Rhode Island, y las demás fuera del estado, para otros estados. Hay una diferencia de que si, por ejemplo, él decide elegir una universidad que no sea aquí en el estado de Rhode Island, ¿hay alguna probabilidad de que eso le afecte o algo? ¿O cuál sería la diferencia? Es como mi pregunta. ¿Hay alguna diferencia de que él no acepte la universidad de aquí y se vaya a otra universidad?
Right, so her question is that her son applied to 6 colleges and universities, some in the state of Rhode Island and some outside of the state of Rhode Island. And she wants to know if there's a difference if he accepts to go to a school outside of Rhode Island, how does that affect him? And basically the big effect is going to be the cost. Because if he's applying to a state school outside of Rhode Island, he is going to be paying out-of-state tuition, and that is more costly than actually staying in state. I will answer that in Spanish now. So, sí, señora, la diferencia sería que si a él lo aceptaron a una universidad que es de un estado, como el Arizona State, es una escuela estatal de Arizona. So, cuando si él va a esa universidad, él lo van a ver como un estudiante fuera del estado, es decir, que el costo de lo que él va a tener que pagar va a ser el doble de una persona que vive en Arizona. Así como los estudiantes que vienen aquí a URI, si son de Rhode Island, cuesta menos para la gente de Rhode Island, pero si son gente fuera de Rhode Island, le cobran el doble. Y depende de cuánta ayuda financiera le dieron. So, algunas veces le sale más caro ir a una universidad fuera del estado. Pero si él es un atleta y le están dando dinero y ya usted sabe que le va a pagar menos o le va a salir menos, so, todo es basado en el costo. Eso es lo último, lo más importante. It's all about cost. That's going to be the main big difference. Okay?
Okay, so we'll let you continue.
Okay, so next. So make sure that when you're doing the application, don't rush. So start early, because you don't want to start doing everything last minute, writing that essay last minute, asking for recommendation last minute. You need to ask for those recommendations early. Because if you ask somebody to write a recommendation 2 weeks before you have to submit an application, that person may not be able to write that recommendation. And make sure you answer all the questions on the applications. Don't leave anything empty. But the way the Common App has evolved throughout the years, it doesn't let you skip a question anyway. So that's one good thing. And then make sure, very important, that you have your guidance counselor upload your transcripts. Again, don't leave it till the last minute. Don't expect your guidance counselor to upload transcripts when you give them a very small amount of time to do so. Because remember, you might be 1 in 300 students that they have to help. So you have to be conscious of that. And of course, like I said, make sure those recommendations are uploaded. So in the Common App, you must invite your recommender to your Common application, which they will receive a link. Like for instance, I've written many recommendations and I receive an email and it says, Solange, Janet has asked for a recommendation. Please click on the link below and upload your recommendation. So you have to make sure that you have that done early. Because I had a student that almost missed their deadline because the recommendation wasn't uploaded. And before you send somebody the link for a recommendation, let them know that you're doing it, because you have to also make sure you have their email listed correctly. Because if you missed, and that's what happened to that student, they send the email to a specific teacher and he missed one letter in the email, and the teacher never received it. So when the student went to check her application and saw that the recommendation was not uploaded, she approached the teacher and said, hey, I requested that you write a recommendation. Didn't you receive the email? He says, no, I haven't. So they went on together on her application and he noticed that she misspelled his name. And that's why he never got it. Luckily, that gentleman was nice enough to write a quick recommendation to be able to submit within the next few days of when it was due. So make sure you ask somebody, make sure you get their spelling correctly, let them know, hey, be on the lookout. If you don't receive it, let me know. So that way you don't miss that, okay? And then the essay. Of course, you need to make sure you follow the instructions of the essay. It will tell you how many, the word count. So typically anywhere from 200 to 650 words is for the Common App essay. Now, some schools may have what they call supplemental essays that are essays specifically to that school. but when you apply on the Common App, you only have to do one essay. And unless the school requests a supplemental, you don't have to worry about writing another essay. Make sure you follow the instructions of what the font size is and the formatting. So it's very important. And then most importantly, you want to make sure that in that essay, you're telling them something that they don't already know by looking at your application. And then stick to your prompt. There are right now 6 prompts that you can select from. And if you don't want to start writing about one thing and going to a tangent about something else, stick to the prompt. And if possible, be very creative. And most importantly, proofread. And sometimes we as writers, when we're writing something and we're proofreading it, because we know what we're trying to say, it may look good, but have somebody else proofread it for you. And that's one other service that the College Planning Center offers. During the summer, we have a little bit of downtime. So if your student already wants to get a head start on writing the essay for the Common App, they're already out there. All you have to do is Google Common Application Essay Prompts for 2021. I mean, 2020, 21, 22, I mean, sorry, for your students that are gonna be, if you're a junior, it'll be 22, sorry. It's for the 22 academic year. Those are already up there and they can start thinking about what they wanna write. And then during the summer months from like May to August, if you email us if your student emails us their essay, we will proofread it, we will critique it, and if there is some edits that need to be done, we will tell the student to have this essay read by their English teacher. We might point out a few, but we can't really edit it because in a way it's like we're writing it for you and we don't want to do that. Okay? And for the resume, if you decide to do a resume, and this is also good, that students should have a resume, or some schools or guidance office call it your brag sheet. So this is good for you to also to give to the person you're asking for that recommendation. So they can also see what you're involved in. You know, it has activities, community service, work experience, and if you have received any honors or recognitions. Delia, am I going too fast? Okay. All right, so here we go. So your application is submitted. It's in front of an admissions counselor, and they have to make a decision. So they're going to look at all these things. As I was mentioning to the lady that asked the question earlier, that has a student in 9th grade. So they are going to look at the strength and level of challenge. So did that student take AP and honor courses? Choice of senior year courses. Did they take it easy their senior years and their electives, they took the easy route? The grades in all academic courses up to the 11th grade, because you're submitting that application your senior year. By the time you submit it, your first quarter grades might not be out. But what the transcript that your guidance counselor will submit will be all your grades up to the end of your junior year. They'll look at those standardized tests if they require it. They'll look at those essays. And let me just go back to the strength and level of challenge. When I was working at Bryan University, I used to kind of advocate a lot for some students because I did a lot of work in the community, the Quisqueya en Acción, and through the college awareness program that they had. One important thing they used to tell me, Solange, if you can let these students know, tell them this. If I have 2 applications in front of me and I have a student that has a 3.5, which is like a high B average, right? Or B plus, A minus, right? And they took AP and honor courses. And I have a student with a perfect 4.0, so that's a straight A student, but they didn't take any AP or honor courses. They didn't challenge themselves. She would accept that 3.5 over that 4.0. because they know it took a lot of work for them to get that 3.5. So just make sure you remember that and remind your student of that, to always challenge themselves. Don't take the easy way out, okay? And if there are some athletes that are in the audience, or you have kids that are athletes, make, their senior year, they have to make sure they clear that NCAA clearinghouse. And just remember that when they're applying to a college or university, if they're Division I or Division II schools, they will get sports scholarships. But Division III does not offer sports scholarships. And it's very important that if they are looking to play at the college level, that they're in contact with the coach of that college or university. Okay, so as I mentioned, so there is help available. The College Planning Center is here to guide you through your financial aid as well. But we are currently only accepting phone appointments. Also, if you request it, I could do a Zoom or Google Meet. And you can schedule an appointment online by going to our website, or you can call this phone number. You leave a message, and if you only speak Spanish, you can leave the message in Spanish. And what they'll do is they'll just forward it straight to me. The minute you start hearing the message in Spanish, they stop, hit forward, Solange. And I will call you and book an appointment with you. When you leave a message for me specifically, leave your name, your phone number, and the best time to reach you. Thank you. And if there's any other questions before I go?
Yes, there are some questions. Do we have folks that have raised their hands as well? Very good.
Woo. Menopause.
Okay, so my son is in 10th grade now. Is this meeting good for, this was one of the initial questions. 1 second, 1 minute. I'm sorry. Are the essay topics, are there essay topics like with planning? If I want my child to work on the essay over the summer, how do we know the topic?
Yep. So hold on 1 second. Let me just stop this. Hold it. Where is, I can't really see this over here. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna go real quick. Stop. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't wanna. I'm gonna go to the. Are you still seeing my screen?
We can see you, not your screen.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. I'm gonna show you real quick. So you could Google, let me see. Let me see if they have it up already. Now there should be another one. 122. Yeah, let me see if it's this one. Nope, that's not it. Sorry. You know what? I have it on my email. 1 second. She recently sent it to me. Here we go. Coming up. Here we go. So here are the Common App prompts. So yeah, so you would find 2021. So when you Google it, put Common App essay prompts 21-22. So these are the ones. So as you can see, there's 7. The last one, number 7, seems to be very popular with students because they just share a topic of their choice. A lot of students, what they do is, if they've done a really good essay in English and they've gotten an A on it, they submit that as their essay. But you have to make sure that that essay fits within the word count guideline, because the essays for the Common App cannot exceed 650 words. The minimum is 200, the maximum is 650. But these are the prompts. And like I said, you could, if I go back to the Google. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm just gonna switch the year. 21, 22, here we go. You see it right here? And now if you scroll down, there they are. Okay? That's how you can find them.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have two questions, two different people, but it's the same, it's relative in terms of recommendations. One is in Spanish. Creo que perdí el dato de cuándo es que se debe pedir las cartas de recomendación y cuándo es que estas se deben someter en conjunto de la aplicación.
Okay, so the question is, she meant when the recommendation should be, the student should ask for recommendation and when they should be submitted.
Yes.
So the students should start thinking about who they want to write their recommendation in the junior year, because it could be a teacher from a junior class, or it could be a teacher from English class. So los estudiantes deben de comenzar a pensar quién le va a dar su recomendación en el 11 grado, porque puede ser un maestro del 11 o del 12. También, normalmente usted necesita más de una recomendación. Yo siempre le digo a los estudiantes que busquen a lo mínimo 3.
Yeah.
¿Ok? Uno puede ser de un maestro, uno siempre va a ser de su consejero o guidance counselor, y el tercero puede ser de cualquier persona que puede hablar de por qué el estudiante es un candidato bueno para esa universidad. Y puede ser si tú trabajas, tu manager, si tú eres parte de una organización, puede ser la persona encargada de esa organización. Si tú eres voluntario, puede ser la persona en esa organización también. So, recommendations, you should have at least 3 recommendations. One is always could be a teacher. One is always going to be your guidance counselor. And then the third could be anybody that can speak to as to why the student is a great candidate for that institution. And that could be like a coach, it could be your manager if you work, it could be who's the head of an organization there where you volunteer. Okay?
Okay. Are the recommendations from teachers? Do they have to be from teachers?
As I just mentioned, it could be, but they don't have to be. Again, a recommendation is from someone who can speak to the students' qualifications or why they would be such a great asset to the college or university. What can they bring to the university?
Okay. And then one more question. Yo tengo una inquietud. Mi hijo llegó aquí hace 2 años. Él está en el 12 y no sé cómo hacer aquí. Él no tiene honor.
Okay, so eso es algo más privado, so no quiero contestar eso aquí en público. So her question is a very private question specifically to her child. So I told her I don't want to answer it online here. So yo les recomiendo que llame al 736-31.
Can you put your screen back up with your contact information?
Shoot. Oh, hold on, I gotta bring my PowerPoint back up. Hold on. Presentation. To the bottom. Hold on, I just want to get to where it is. Okay. Sorry. Let me share my screen again now. Ok, este número aquí. Llame a ese número y deje un mensaje en español y ellos me lo mandan a mí. So just call, I told her to call this number, leave a message in Spanish, and they will forward it to me. I'll leave that up just in case. Any other questions?
A few raised hands. Brunilda García.
Sí, ¿me escucha?
Sí.
Sí.
Ok, en español. La pregunta es que mi hija desea irse a otro país como Europa. ¿Qué pasaría si ella desea irse para otro país? ¿Hay algún tipo de ayuda financiera que desee de estudiar en otro país por ser extranjera?
So her question is if her daughter decides to study in another country. So I'm going to answer her that it all depends on the school that she is attending in another country. In order to receive financial aid in a foreign country, that school must be Title IV, must have eligibility for Title IV of federal funding. Because there are some schools outside of the United States that the federal government, which is, that's why you fill out a FAFSA, that will, if they qualify for financial aid through the FAFSA, they can use it at those college or university. So, depende de la universidad y del país a donde ella vaya a aplicar, porque la ayuda financiera federal nada más se le da a las universidades que cualifican para una clase de beca que se llama Title IV o Título 4. Y si esas universidades no lo aceptan, ella no podría recibir ayuda financiera federal. Now, estas universidades tal vez tengan su propia ayuda financiera, so ella tendría que averiguar eso con la universidad. Sometimes international schools have their own financial aid too for international students, so she would have to look into that as well.
Okay, thank you. We have someone else that has raised their hands. Soani Alvarado.
¿Aló?
Sí, diga.
Sí, me escuchan. Mi pregunta es que, por ejemplo, mi hijo no tiene, está en camino a tener una residencia y si no se la dan antes de que termine su high school, entonces no puede aplicar a la universidad, ¿o sí?
Otra vez, algo muy privado. So, llame y deje su nombre y teléfono y yo la llamo y se lo digo porque yo no quiero dar información.
Ok, perfecto. Entonces podríamos cambiar la pregunta por ¿dónde encuentro una lista? Porque mi hijo estudia artes culinarias. Entonces quiero hacer una lista de las universidades con respecto a, así como para ser chef, ¿verdad?
Ok, otra vez. Puede hacer una cita y yo puedo hablar todo eso con él. So she's asking very personal question that I told her she needs to make a phone call so I can talk one-on-one with her son. Because I can't do an advising session.
Perfecto.
Okay.
Gracias, Soani. No se vaya, ¿ok? Quédese con nosotros. Glenda. Glenda, si puede activar su micrófono, por favor. Gracias.
Sí, ¿me escucha?
Ahora sí, por favor,
Sí.
vaya.
Sí, yo nomás quería saber si puedo hacer una cita con la señora Fernández.
Llame al teléfono. Llame al teléfono y deje un mensaje y yo la llamo y depende de cómo está mi calendario. So she wants to book an appointment. So just call and I'll see my calendar and I can book her as soon as possible. Llame y le doy una cita lo más pronto posible, pero yo no puedo decirle que sí le puedo hacer una cita hoy.
Ok, gracias.
Gracias, Glenda. Nieves Tejada. Nieves, si puede activar su micrófono. Nieves, no la escuchamos. Okay. Nieve, ahora? Oh, I think she just had unmuted. You think? Nieves, trate otra vez, por favor. Active su micrófono. Ahora, vamos, diga. ¿No la escuchamos?
No se escucha.
Ahora sí, diga, ahora la escuchamos.
Bueno,
diga.
¿me escucha?
Sí.
Solange, yo tengo una inquietud. Mi hijo ya está en el 12 grado. Y cuando yo fui a la escuela, me dijeron que como él no sabe mucho,
Antes que
tenía que quedar en la universidad de
Nieves, se
en
está
la-
rompiendo. Nieves,
sí, era.
Nieves, no se escucha muy bien el
no se escucha muy bien y esa pregunta otra vez, algo que
No te
sería
escucho ahora.
Sí.
es que no estamos escuchando a usted tampoco. Es mejor llame y haga una
No te
cita.
escucho.
Ok, Nieves, ¿usted me
No te
escucha a mí?
escucho, nada.
Ok, so Nieves, ¿no me escucha? ¿No?
Ahora sí.
Ok, Nieves, por favor, anote el teléfono de Solange. Ella prefiere que usted haga una cita con...
Ay, Dios.
Ok,
No te escucho.
ok, yo le voy a escribir una nota, ok. Miren,
No sé qué le pasa a Zoom.
ok. Nieves, nosotros nos comunicamos con usted. Ok, one more, another person. Delmi Landaverde. Delmi. Active su micrófono, por favor. Diga. Delmi, no te escucho. Haga su pregunta.
Ok, sí, hola, buena.
Diga.
Una pregunta, mi hijo actualmente está en el 11. Este es tiempo para que nosotros empecemos a aplicar a las universidades.
So her question is that her son is in the 11th grade. Is this when he should start applying to college? And I'm going to tell her it's the time to stop preparing to apply, but you cannot apply to college until your senior year. So es el tiempo perfecto para él comenzar a planear. También, si quiere hacer una cita en abril o mayo, es cuando nos estamos haciendo cita con los jóvenes que están en el 11 para comenzar a hablar del proceso. Pero usted no va a aplicar hasta el 12. En el 12 grado que se aplica a la universidad. ¿Ok?
Delmi, ¿tiene otra pregunta?
Ok, ella dice que el verano, ¿cuándo más o menos, cómo yo puedo contactar para tener la información cuando...
Haciendo una cita y entonces yo hago una cita y yo hablo con usted y su hijo y le hablamos paso por paso lo que él tiene que hacer desde ahora en el 11 grado hasta el 12. So she asked when can she book an appointment and I told her she just calls and I will meet with her and I will go over step by step with her and her son what he needs to do starting now in the 11th grade and going into 12.
Okay, thank you. Tony Ortiz. Diga, Tony. Go right ahead.
Sí, buenas.
Sí, diga.
Buenas.
La hija mía está en el grado 9. ¿Debería estar yo aquí en esta conferencia?
Sí, porque como le dije a la otra, he asked if it's too early for him to be on because his daughter's in 9th grade. And it's like, I'm going to say, like I said earlier, it's never too early to get information. So, como yo dije anteriormente, nunca es temprano para conseguir información. Así su hija ya puede aprender lo que debe estar haciendo desde ahora para estar lista cuando llegue el tiempo de aplicar. Es importante que ella comience a estar asegurándose que haga bien en sus clases.
Muchas gracias.
Okay.
Muchas gracias.
Emmy?
Janet.
One more, Emmy.
Janet, check your text.
Okay. Emmy. No puede.
Ok, aquí ya estoy. Lo que pasa es que le quería preguntar, a veces hacen tours a las universidades. ¿Sabes si hay alguno por ahí que uno pueda inscribirse? El niño mío es parte de College Crusade y también tiene College Bound Saver.
So her question is, can she start doing tours with her son, and where can she look up to do tours? And her son is part of the College Crusade. So I'm just going to advise her to have her son talk to her College Crusade advisor, because they often put together college tours for the College Crusade students, or he can contact the schools that he's interested in touring directly to see if he can do a college tour. So si su hijo es parte del College Crusade, yo les recomiendo que él hable con su College Crusade consejero, porque ellos, el College Crusade, hacen planes y viajes a diferentes universidades que su hijo puede ir a hacer un tour. Y si no son una de la universidad que él está interesado, él puede llamar directamente a esa universidad y a ver cuándo ellos tienen un tour, y él puede registrarse.
Okay, Solanchi, thank you so much for your presentation today. I'm sure, obviously, our parents were very active and engaged. Thank you so much for your expertise and sharing this information with us. I just want to remind everyone that Solanchi will be back with us on March 31st. In the topic then will be paying and saving for college. So again, it will be on March 31st. So be on the lookout. And I want to say thank you to Solanchi. I don't know, Solanchi, if you want to say just a few last words, and then we're going to move on with a Google form for feedback from our attendees. And yes, so go ahead.
Okay. So my only advice, I know of several parents were here, 9th graders or 10th graders. As I mentioned, it's never too early to start. So it's very important that they focus on doing well in their classes and making sure they're selecting courses that are challenging to them, because college admissions will look at the level of challenge. And also for 11th graders, make sure if you are going to a school that requires SATs, make sure you're signing up for those SATs. Make sure you start creating those college lists. And if you want to book an appointment one-on-one with me, you can call, and we are starting to work with juniors where I can go over with you the steps, what you should be doing now from 11th till your senior year. If you are a senior and you've already applied to college and you've already applied to financial aid and you're starting to get those college award letters, I'd be more than happy to go over those award letters with you to make sure you're making a very financial savvy decision, because we don't want you to go to a college or university where you will walk out with over $100,000 in debt. We don't want that. So it's very important. If you are a 12th grader and you haven't filled out your FAFSA, it's still very important that you could still fill it out and still qualify for federal money. You just might have missed out on institutional money.
Thank you so much, Solanchi.
You're welcome.
Again, we will repeat her phone number. So those of you who haven't decided yet if you want to meet with her personally, but we will share her phone number again. Thank you so much, Solanchi. You have a good evening, okay?
Okay, thank you. And again, I just want to apologize to some of the parents that were asking very personal questions, but I just felt that it's best to talk one-on-one on specific topics that they were asking.
Great. No, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay.
Have a good night. Good night.
Thank you so